back to the Frontier Freedom Hour with Jeff Hunt, sponsored by Centennial Institute at Colorado Christian University. Here's Jeff Hunt.
So, friends, since the October 7th attack, you've watched these pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas rallies take place on college campuses around the country. You've watched university presidents be silent, complicit in their anti-Semitism. This has all been building for years. It's tragic. It's horrible. Friends, I want to contrast it with CCU's response. We've had 2 op-eds out in Fox just this past few weeks in support of Israel, condemning the anti-Semitism on college campuses. Our chancellor has done interviews with the Gazette and with Intermountain Jewish News. We have very clearly stood with our Jewish brothers and sisters through this. They are morally right to respond to this terrorist attack that took place. By all means, to be able to protect their citizens. So I want to let you know on December 5th at Colorado Christian University, we're going to host a prayer vigil with Jewish and Christian leaders. Our students are going to be standing there with us. Faculty will be standing there with us. You don't have this woke, anti-colonialism, I'm using quotes here, scare quotes, type of mindset at CCU. There's moral clarity there. Now, obviously, this isn't a blank check for Israel to do whatever it wants to, but my goodness, this was the worst terrorist attack against Israel and against Jews in one day at any point since the Holocaust. They have every right to defend themselves. So join us December 5th, Colorado Christian University. If you go to centennial.ccu.edu, that's centennial.ccu.edu. Click on the events tab. You'll be able to see the event. I hope you'll join us. Be candlelight vigil, support of Israel, and praying for peace in the Middle East. I want to pray that there can be peace there. But if your enemy is only going to be happy when you're wiped off the map entirely and all your people are wiped off the map, well, then you got to defend yourself. So join us December 5th, CCU for Israel. All right, we're talking with Rebecca Friedrichs, who wrote an article titled Unions for Palestine about how these unions have been basically infiltrated by the radical left. They're led by the radical left, and they're driving this leftist agenda throughout all aspects of education. It's going to influence our kids, all that stuff. She won a major Supreme Court, Friedrichs versus California Teachers Association, a major Supreme Court case, which basically freed you all up from not having to join unions if you work in public service. Thank God. But Rebecca, I got to ask you, you went up against like the Jimmy Hoffas of the world. Like they're not like easy people. And I know Jack Phillips, he faced a tremendous amount of pressure. And, but Jack wouldn't stop. He was on a mission. He's been successful. Same with Lori Smith. Lori slept on the ground because she was afraid of drive-bys after the left put her address up. I mean, it's not easy to face the radical left. How did you do it? Did you face those types of threats and intimidation? And how did you persevere through that?
Wow. Well, this is precisely why I titled my book Standing Up to Goliath, because here we were, 10 little California school teachers, no power really, except full of truth and willing to speak truth, up against the most powerful unions who are really more like mobsters,
yes.
In the country and in our state. And by the way, when we filed our lawsuit when we got to the U.S. Supreme Court, Kamala Harris, who was the Attorney General of California, which is where I live, she intervened against us on the side of the unions, as did the Obama-Biden administration. So Obama-Biden intervened the entire United States of America against 10 teachers, and Kamala intervened the entire state of California against 10 teachers. So we were literally standing against, the whole evil workmanship of the left in the United States of America. And all I can say is all 10 of us were Christians. And we didn't personally plan it that way. Those were just the people who had the courage to stand up and put their name on a lawsuit. And all of us, it was our faith that carried us through. And we knew going, like when I first signed up, I have 2 sons and a husband, and I asked my sons, are you okay with me doing this? One was in high school at the time, and one was in a public college, both public schools. And both of them looked at me and said, go for it. And my younger one said, if they touch my car, I'm taking them out, because he was really into cars. But I had the support of my family, my husband and my sons, right in my home, believing in what I was doing, praying for me, standing with me. I didn't have the support of everybody. I'd like to say a lot of the teachers that were my friends for years, I'd prayed for their families. I'd stood with them through all sorts of things. Wouldn't talk to me anymore. Isolated me on campus, or would only come talk to me in private and say, hey, I'm with you, but they really weren't, because they wouldn't stand with me publicly. So you do this very much isolated, very much alone, but knowing that you're doing what's right. I knew that I knew that I knew. I served 3 years as a union rep because I wanted to change things from the inside. And what I learned from the inside is they didn't want to change. They were wicked. They were pushing every radical agenda I'd seen in this country. They were even writing the talking points for the left. Okay, we would hear the talking points at union meetings 3-4 years before they came out in the media of the left. So I knew that this union was the root evil that was behind all of this, the destruction of my country and damaging these little innocent 5, 6, 7-year-olds that I'm teaching, my own children, my own family, my own future. So once you see that, and, you know, and like I told you, I came to this through my Bible study, through prayer, you know, through feeling that God was saying to me, look, if you want something, if you want this evil to stop, you got to step up. You're the one. You're the one that cares. It's on your heart, so it must be your calling. And so when you go into it knowing that God led you and knowing that you are following what the Scripture says, you're being light in the darkness, you know, you're believing Joshua 1:9, you know, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous, do not be afraid. So that's really what kept me going, and my fellow plaintiffs was God and those that were standing with us. Were we afraid of death? Yes. Were we afraid of losing our jobs? Yes. Were we afraid somebody might throw tacks in front of our car while we're driving to cause an accident? Yes. We were afraid of all those things. We're standing up to a mob. But thank God those things didn't happen. We're all still here to live to tell the story, and the unions have a little less power.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. So what's happened since this case and your work for Kids and Country, your work against these teachers' unions? Have things changed?
Well, yes and no. So we work very hard to educate people. The people that are listening to us, that read my book, that go on our website and find out the information and opt out of the unions, those numbers are growing, and those people are waking up, and they're helping other people to wake up. But we still have a huge number of people who are still deceived, who believe the unions are their savior, who believe the PTA is just fine. So we need help of your listeners to educate anyone they know on the truth, because the more we educate at the grassroots level, then it's, you know, we're going to start a brush fire, right? And we're going to grow and grow and grow. So we need to do that. But how the unions have responded is exactly how I knew they would respond. They have raised dues 5 times since the win. 5 times. So they're losing all these members, but they aren't losing any money at all because they just raise the dues to make up for what they lose. And then they say, those free riders over there who've left the union, they're the bad guys. So the more we can grow people who leave the union and stand together, and I know we're not the free riders, you are. You've been free riding us for decades, exploiting our profession. So that's what the unions do. They name call, they bully, they raise the dues, and here's the other thing they're doing. They have expanded membership to all kinds of people. You don't have to be a teacher anymore.
Really?
Book publishers have always been members of the unions. Well, that's growing. So there's all these, quote, members of the union who have nothing to do with education. They aren't teachers at all. So what's happening is they're actually showing their true colors. They're helping us to see what I've been saying for decades, that, look, these people aren't who they say they are. Now they're getting a little more crazy. They're showing their true colors. They're showing their true colors in their new business items, too, every year, which we post on our website under Union Politics. People can see what kind of business items the unions are passing, things like open borders and sanctuary cities and defund the police and abolish ICE and hate on President Trump and hate charter schools. I mean, they're starting to show their true colors. So I think they're getting desperate, and that's a good thing, but they still have a lot of power and a lot of money. So we have to wake up more people and bleed them dry of their resources.
Starve the beast. And in case you think this is just happening in like California or Illinois or New York or something here, this was the Colorado Educators Association earlier this year believes that capitalism inherently exploits children public schools, land, labor, and resources. Capitalism is in opposition to fully addressing systemic racism, the school-to-prison pipeline, climate change, patriarchy, gender and LGBTQ disparities, education inequality, and income inequality. So that is what Colorado teachers' unions are promoting to all of their teachers. And then you're dropping little Susie and little Johnny off at school, and they're walking in, and for 8 hours a day, that baloney is being pushed into your kids' heads. So this is what I want to do. All right, I'm going to need your help of the listeners here, because maybe we'll do a GoFundMe or something like that. I want to get a billboard. I want to stick it right on I-25, and I want it to say in black and white lettering, "For the love of God, get your children out of government-run schools." And then we're just going to leave it there, and maybe we'll forward it to some websites for people to get some more information. But Rebecca, I want to thank you so much. Rebecca Friedrichs, she's the founder of For Kids and Country, the author of Standing Up to Goliath, Battling State and National Teachers Unions for the Heart and Soul of Our Kids and Country. She's a 28-year public school teacher, was the lead plaintiff in the Supreme Court case, Friedrichs versus California Teachers Association. And she's written an article recently about how teachers unions are now supporting Palestine. Rebecca, it's been great to be with you. Thanks so much for being on the show.
It's been wonderful to be with you, too. Thanks so much.
All right, friends, go to centennial.ccu.edu to join the movement for faith, family, and freedom in the state of Colorado. We'd love to have you there. And be sure to join us for the CCU for Israel Night on December 5th. Until then, Jeff Hunt signing off. God bless you all, and yeehaw.